Hey everybody, it's Kevin Hoagland. I want to welcome you back to On the Gold. And this is a new feature. It's called the Claimcast. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about everything GPA claims, whether it be the GPA claims guide, the online mining guide, particular claims, and so on like that. I'm still joined with my co-host, guest host. What do you want to be, Kevin, when you grow up?
Just anything but superhero.
I don't think I saw your Superman cape, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
it's a little old, but
I do not
it's
look good in tights either.
Oh, I did not need to hear that one. All right, so Claimcast. Claimcast is where we talk about GPA claims and so on like that. And as a California state director, I know that you're heavily involved with the sound of freedom, dude.
That's right. The sound of freedom, brother.
Those are the F-35s coming over. I got to pull out one of these headsets. All right. As a state director, as a state director for the state of California, you are heavily involved with helping us find new properties, looking at the properties that we've got, and then also making sure that we have updates on the online mining guide.
Right.
And the last two claims that you and I went out, we found together, which was the Bucky's Nowhere and the
Lucky Buck.
And the Lucky Buck, which some great members, they did we all did the actual prospecting. They put them into their names. They shared them into the GPA. And, that came along at a time after the mining guide had been complete, printed version. So everything on those claims lives on the online mining guide and, of course, some of the old pick and shovel updates. But today let's focus on the actual printed mining guide. Take this thing and let's dissect it, and let's talk about some of the things and some of the features. And earlier today, I'm going to share this. Earlier today, Kevin and I were just having a conversation, catching up about some things, and we were talking about the mining guide. And Kevin was telling me that for all the technology that he drives and everything else that he's been around, one of the things that Kevin loves to do is still have that pick and shovel where he can tear out the pages or cut out the pages and slip them into his mining guide, which is a great idea. I like that. And you know what, quite frankly, I still do the same thing every now and then if there's something. But after we had that conversation, I got a call from a gentleman in California that was telling me about some of the claims that he has up in Plumas County. And he was talking about sharing the claims and so on. And he got into the conversation about going back in and cutting up the pick and shovel, but he hadn't been able to find some of the newer things. And I asked him, I said, why don't you just go to the online mining guide, print what you need, and just put those into your mining guide? And it was crickets on the phone for about 10 seconds. And he was like, wow, I didn't know that I could download those pages. I didn't know that I could print those pages. So I've done a couple of videos and I've written a couple of articles on the online mining guide, and not to get that far into it because we are going to talk about the print one. But if you're looking at the online mining guide, you need to look at all the functionality, because once you have a map, if I get my driving directions, I can send those to my phone. I can also print those as well.
Right. And, the online mining guide, the amount of technology that's out there is just, the depth of the technology is what's so great about it. And, the nicest thing is if you happen to be traveling or you're just looking to mine a new area. And that's the big key is, we're trying to make our personal mining adventure. You want to go out and try new places. You don't want to always go to the same place. What you can say is, hey, I'd like to try this area, and you put in a city or a zip code that's close to that. And the nice thing is that the online mining guide is almost like a circle. And so it gives you all the locations of the claims that are within that tight little circle that's around that area. Mm-hmm. So for proximity, it gives you a wide angle look at all those claims in the proximity. And then you can dial in to say, maybe I want to be on a stream. Maybe I want to go metal detecting. You can actually tune how you want to mine to what's in the mining guide and to what features are there in the guide. That is probably, in my opinion, the best part of the online mining guide. And of course, the other thing, it's peer-to-peer. It's miners talking to miners. So that's that peer-to-peer where you have miners talking about where they've been successful, or that was the easiest place for people on a time budget.
When we start looking at things like that and we really start drilling down on that, the idea of the peer-to-peer is not a matter of giving an X marks a spot.
Right.
It's helping people become better prospectors. And whenever I do a review, a prospecting review, I try to talk about the material that I'm finding, what I'm looking at, and because there's places like that all over a claim, and those are the places to go. It's not about having the X marks a spot. I do want to talk about the 3R2 for just a moment.
Sure.
Yeah, because there had been a member that had gone out there and really didn't have a lot of good things to say about the claim. And it turns out this person was really new. I would imagine that they were really new when it all boiled down to it.
Right.
And I think it was unbeknownst to you. You went out there and you started looking around, and it was a matter of doing more prospecting. So what you did is, as a peer and maybe somebody with more experience, you were able to go out there and share some information of, hey, you know what? You just didn't go far enough. You didn't look,
right.
you didn't look deep enough, do a little bit more prospecting and so on like that. And you got onto the gold out there, which was great. And if somebody wanted to go out to that claim and get onto the gold, all they have to do now is go to the online mining guide, bring up that claim, take a look at it, and then go in there and look for exactly what you guys were working while you were there, and you're on the gold.
Right. And the interesting thing is, I think a lot of people, when they go on a river claim, they tend to work the river. And, that seems kind of, self-explanatory there. The 3R claim that you're talking about has a beautiful year-round stream running through it, and it gives you good access to water. The place that we were finding the gold and finding more specifically, that tends to be a pocket type claim where you're going to find, clumps of gold in one place. And if you were to go 3 or 4 feet, 5 feet across, downstream or upstream, you probably wouldn't find anything.
Right.
And what it was interesting was a person that's new isn't going to understand what horizontal shear is, or a vertical, what was happening was the vertical material was collapsing. Mm-hmm. And you could actually look inside that vertical flat rock that was collapsing, and you could see pockets behind it.
Right.
And so I got to tell you, a person that's good at crevicing or understanding how to go after pocket gold, that's the perfect claim for them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And the farther that you walked up, that stream or that claim happens to be really long and narrow. Mm-hmm. And the person that was there was very close to where you parked. And it's very scenic there, but it's kind of like the fishermen fishing those pools closest to the parking lot. They that's the first stuff that gets beat up.
All right. We have gotten so far away from the mining guide print version that, nothing else now but the mining guide. I'm starting the timer. We have 10 minutes to talk about the print mining guide. And I'm going to ask you a couple questions right off the bat.
Sure.
Okay, 9:59. Here we go. Let's see if we can actually do this. We're going to run over. We are going to run over. We always do. All right, so the print mining guide. I've had a few people tell me that I shouldn't even talk about the print mining guide anymore because I was involved with it from the very, very beginning to the very end, and everything. There was like 3 or 4 of us that touched everything that went into that mining guide. We may have the review after the fact or different things like that, but I've had a couple people who've just said, you know what, you shouldn't even touch it. You shouldn't even talk about it. You're just way too close to it. I'm very passionate about this mining guide because there is so much information that we've put in there, and there's also some things that are just completely misunderstood. And I'm going to get to a question to you in just a moment. But one of the things that's completely misunderstood is that when they land on a page and they see a gold pan, and a lot of people believe that that's the only thing that you can use there, because in the past mining guides, we always had things that showed all the different type of equipment that could be used.
Right.
And just so people understand, and just so our members understand, is that when you see like a gold panda or a high banker, and that's all you see, it's not because that's the only thing you're allowed to use. It's what is in the member reports. So if
Right.
you went out to a claim and all you did was use a gold pan, and it was a really good review, and the IT department, production department, use that review onto the into the print mining guide,
Right.
then that's what's going to show. It's going to show a gold pan. So just because you see a gold pan or a high banker or another piece of equipment, do not think that that is the only thing that can be used there. So my question to you is, you and I have talked a lot about the printed mining guide, and what to you are the features that you use the most that you believe are the most helpful for the members?
Well, I've got to tell you, the first thing for me is that the mining guide is set up first by state and then by county.
Right.
And then of course all the claims are in after the county. So the nice thing about that is if you're looking to be in a certain area, like you want to try being up in Shasta County or in El Dorado County, you can actually look at the claims that are in those areas, and they tend to be somewhat laid out by how they lay out on a map.
Mm-hmm.
So you can actually see as you're going through those county maps, those claims are set up to be somewhat sequential within that area.
Right.
So it makes it to where you're going to see a lot of those claims that are very close in that area, and that allows you to find kind of a center point where you, like if you were going to camp or look for some sort of accommodations, you can put a center dot around that clump of claims.
Right.
And
now, and if you use, I'm sorry, didn't mean to, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, for instance, where some of the claims where counties may overlap or even states may overlap, and that's more for me when I was looking at states when I was on the Nevada-Arizona border. Because the county of the Nevada state and the county of the Arizona state, you can look at those two together and build that same cluster picture, even across states where, you can do that same thing with that centralizing your point of entry into those places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very true.
That's where the paper mining guide is so effective. That's one of the best ways I use it. And hence the reason that I update when it's relevant for me. When I see in the pick and shovel, I'll pull those pages out and stick them in my guidebook.
Right.
Because it's exactly for those things.
Okay. That makes all the sense in the world. And I liked how you said it, that, when we put in, if you don't know what city you're in, or if you're not sure, if you're traveling and you don't know exactly where you're talking about, where you're being, if you just pick a city somewhere off of a map and you drop that city in, so you've got city, state, and then it gives you that circular vision of up to 250 miles. So you'll always be able to look at that from that aspect. And what you were saying about the circular vision, when I was up a little bit further north in Arizona, one of the funnest things that we would do is we'd flip a coin, because I had claims at all directions. So you flip a coin, heads was north, tails was south, then you do it again, east and west, and then you pick a direction. On the third flip, whatever it was is the direction that you were going to go out to get on some claims. So the online guide works real well for being able to look at it in that big of a picture. Okay. What's your second,
Well, and the other thing, the interesting thing about the paper guide is when you're looking at claims together, like you may find, two claims that are almost side by side. And the nice thing is, if you're looking at the pages side by side and you're looking at the maps, you can actually see things, how they lay together.
Right.
And even look, as you turn pages, where you can actually start seeing how these things lay out on a map. and of course they're topographic, so you can actually see where you're seeing hills or valleys and or things like that, things that are more difficult to possibly work, a different part of that claim that's difficult to work, but you may be able to come in from the claim next to it and come in that way and then go from 2 to 1 versus trying to stay on 1 and then maybe traversing over the other way. So it allows you to be able to find the best access to work that whole area.
Right.
Because it's topographic.
Right. And you said something right there. And this is, and yes, we are talking about the printed mining guide, but this is also where we can kick back over to the online mining guide to where they work hand in hand. When I look at the map on the mining guide, and I kind of want to get a better idea of the entire area, I'll go to that same claim on the online mining guide, click on the ingress point or the center of claim, either one, doesn't really matter, and that Google Map shop pops up. Now, from that Google Map, down in the lower left-hand corner, I've got the option of looking at it from a satellite view. I'll click on the satellite view and expand that map and just make that map bigger. So now I have a really good picture of the entire area, and I can see if there's maybe a stream that's over to the northwest or something over here, something over there, and kind of get a bigger, better idea of what it looks like. Or if I want to get really crazy with it, I can strip out the GPS coordinate that pops up and then kick that into another program like Google Earth, and then I can check for other claims around the area using some third-party software and things like that. So, you know, that is one of those things where I can look at a map in the print mining guide, take it over to the online mining guide, and then kind of build out where I want to. The online mining guide, of course, is only going to have your ingress and your center of claim points, whereas the print mining guide has all corners. And just to make a clarification for people that don't know this, we always start at the northwest corner. So point number 1, if you look at some of the claims, they've got a couple of the claims one of them has 23 different points, 23 different location points. And those are listed on the print mining guide. Well, that starts in what is considered the northwest corner, finds its way over to the northeast corner, to the southeast corner, to the the southwest corner, back up to the northwest. So claims will always work in that pattern, no matter what their design or how they're laid out. It will start northwest, northeast, southwest, or southeast, southwest, and then back to the northwest. Same way as that you're going to look at it on claim paperwork when you're doing an aliquot or an aliquot claim and so on like that, knowing those corners. I just thought I'd throw that one in just to kind of give that comparison and understanding. Now, one of the things that I've always liked about the print mining guide is, and I like it even more because now we've got more information. You're getting that, as you said earlier, you've got that peer-to-peer information that's coming in there. I like the fact that we're putting in some of those reviews that members have done. And, you know, quite frankly, some of them, I'm not going to say any of them. We're done.
Ooh, $5.
We're out of time. We're running over. I knew that was going to happen. But we have this peer-to-peer information, and not always are those reviews that you read in there, you know, the most promising, the most warm and fuzzy reviews. And sometimes it's somebody saying, look, I went out here, I worked this particular area, and I didn't find anything.
Right.
Or I found only a little bit, or, you know, this or that or whatever. Well, what we're finding is people that are looking at that on the print mining guide, and again, going over to the online mining guide, they're looking at other reviews, and when they come back in and they're doing a peer-to-peer review, it's like, you know, same as what you did on that one claim. Yeah, you're right. You know, you probably should have gotten out a little bit further, or matter of fact, you should have gone a little bit further. And that's, you know, you're not being derogatory. You're trying to help a fellow member become a better prospector by helping them and learn some of those things. So that, you know, that's, I will always carry the print mining guide with me. It is still, as far as I'm concerned, as far as a membership tool, it's the most powerful membership tool that there is. The regulations pages, we talk about what's going on in all of the different states, the regulations. Again, hand in hand, regulations get updated. So those you'll be able to see on the online mining guide on the regulations tab. So the print mining guide, as the basis of what we are and what we've done for all these years, so many people are just using that simply for everything.
Right.
And they're out there, they're using it, they're happy, they're just as happy as they could be. And you know what? Maybe someday they'll go to the online mining guide. Maybe someday they won't. But they have what they consider their best GPAA benefit, which is that access to the GPAA claims. And
Right.
they've got that guide. They carry that guide with them everywhere that they go.
Sure. Sure. And the interesting thing about that, as you realize that part of that is historic, that they've been GPAA members for
Ever.
30 years,
Yeah.
and that was the tool, and so they're comfortable with using that tool, and it provides them all the information, again, like I say, categorically, which helps. And I think as the mining, as we start to use the online mining guide, hopefully, you'll get some feedback, or the GPAA will get feedback in how to make the online mining guide even more powerful. So, it's really still in its infancy. That's the big thing, where the paper guide is quite mature. I mean, it's, people are used to looking in it. They know what to look for, where to look for it. It's just that
Yeah.
that great old pair of slippers. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm looking over in my bookshelf right now, and I've got mining guides going back for a very, very, very long time.
Sure,
So.
sure.
And when you're talking about the things that we can do, um, when we get ready for that time, we've already got a list of things that members have asked about and different things and so on like that. But there's easy, simple, very quick things that we can do, and one of them is like what just happened with Tad going out and finding. And I don't know, you take a listen to it, but basically what happened is the road that's in the printed mining guide ends. There's private property on the other side of that now, and it's now been gated off. It's now been fenced. Now, it wasn't when we printed. This has all happened, quite frankly, in the last
Right.
2 or 3 months. So what Tad asked me to do was take the ingress point from where it is at the top, right as you go into the claim, and move it all the way down to the main road and close to where, if I had that in my GPS, it's going to take me right to it. Or if I'm using that on the online mining guide and I've downloaded that to my phone, instead of it taking me right to that gate and then the ingress point still being way up above there, now it's going to take me through a neighborhood that takes me down a little dirt road that brings me back around, and there's the ingress point, which is about a mile away from the claim.
Right.
So to me that's a really simple change. I've already put that up for the IT guys to make the change. All right.
Sure.
God, could we sit here and talk about the mining guide for a couple hours? I think we could.
Oh, easy.
Yeah. It's such a. You said it. It's an old pair of slippers, but it's maybe it's got a new insert in it or whatever. I don't even want to get down into that one, but for me, maybe I am too close to it, but it's still just such an incredible tool.
Right.
And now having the print mining guide, having the online mining guide, and of course the pick and shovel, that's the old pair of shoes right there, man.
Oh yeah.
That pick and shovel was around forever. It got misplaced for a little while, then it came back out with all the claim updates and things like that. But some of those are a little bit further behind because it is a publication. Publications don't just happen overnight. You've got
Right.
all the lead times and everything else that happen. But between the printed mining guide, the pick and shovel, the online mining guide, and all of the GPA social media sites, there is no reason in the world why anybody cannot grab one and find their way all the way out and onto the gold somewhere out there.
Right. Absolutely. And like I said, I use them both.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times when both have value. The online mining guide is great for the on the spot. Hey, I'm going to that claim today. What can I find out?
Right.
Because I've gone in there and you can see that last week somebody went there and said, hey, you might want to wait a while. The water's way too high here.
Mm-hmm.
And he just saved you half a tank of gas driving to a place that you couldn't even work.
Yeah, and you know what?
So
And I'm going to take that a step further. I'm going to go to, let's just say, I'm going to go up to Oregon. Now I'm going to plan my trip because I live in Oklahoma, and I'm going to plan my trip to Arizona or whatever.
right.
When I go on the online mining guide and I'm planning my trip, I live in Oklahoma, I'm planning my trip to Arizona, and I'm thinking about coming out in February. So now I go on the online mining guide, and I'm looking at the online mining guide, and I'm seeing what the weather is by what people have put in, what the members are talking about. But also, if I look at the print mining guide, on the print mining guide, one of the things that we put in there was the weather feature. So the weather feature for every claim. People think, okay, it's the middle of the desert, it's February, it's a great month to be in Arizona because it's, it's so much like that. But if you look at that, if I'm not mistaken, February is actually one of the wettest months of the year. Forgetting about the summer monsoon seasons,
right.
But February is one of the wettest times of the year. So if you see those and you see John's posting on the online mining guide, his review of showed up in the Arizona desert 1st of February with a dry washer. Gee, I wish I brought a dredge.
Right.
And so on like that. So those are things that allow you to plan a trip, plan that journey, plan that destination, and what you need to bring with you. So,
Sure.
we've run out of time for this segment. We're going to take a break. We're going to go back, and then we'll be back on the gold. But this has been the Claims Cast on the Gold. We'll see you in a few minutes.